Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Pro Speaker Summit. We're really excited that you're here. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Angela Lewis, and I'm with Speaker Hub. I work in operations. And this session, our Chief Product Officer and our owner, Ron Story Jr., is going to talk about unlocking the key to consistent bookings. And so we're really excited. It's going to be an incredible session. So please have your questions ready. And we look forward to you all learning more and sharing all that's happening in the summit with you.
Hello, hello, hello. I want to welcome you all to the summit. I'm Ron Story. A lot of you all I know. I see a lot of familiar faces in the photos in the audience. Good to see you all again, and welcome to the new Speaker Hub. Over the last few months, we have put together a lot of cool things to take Speaker Hub to the next level, and we are glad that you decided to be a part of it. In the past, Speaker Hub was primarily focused on um, being a directory for speakers to be able to be found by event planners and organizers. And over the last 4 months, we've tried to shift that a bit to make it more interactive where you can reach out and pitch the stages that you want. So in the hour today, I'm going to show you what I've learned over the last 5 years of being a speaker booking agent. So my booking agency pitching speakers, we worked with about 300 speakers a year for the last 5 years. Um, what I learned from working with those speakers is what allowed me to put on this summit, to invite my friends to come and my clients to come and teach you all. But at the same time, the lessons that I learned from them, I'm going to share with you today. So this is going to be interactive. It's not a sermon. I'm not going to be preaching to you for an hour. It's going to be a lot of interactivity, ask questions. And because you came to the live session, here's an incentive to come back tomorrow. Every day at the live session, we will give away to one person here who asks the best questions. You can ask him in the chat. You can ask him live. Ask the best questions. One person each day will get 1 year free of Speaker Hub Pro. So today, someone will get an entry level one. Tomorrow, we're going to give away 1 year of the middle level. And on Thursday, we're going to give away one year of the highest level Speaker Hub Pro that we have. Is that fair? Is that a good deal? Yes? No? Bad? Okay. Right. So this could be worth up to about $5,000 just for coming to the live session. So ask your questions. Our job is to be the amplifier of speakers. I am not a speaker. So if you want to critique my presentation, go ahead. I'm not a professional. You're the professionals. I'm an amplifier. My job is to get you on more stages, right? You're going to be on stage. I'm going to be the person or provide you with the tools to get on stage. So everybody ready?
Sure.
Cool. This is going to be exciting. So let's start off with some few questions. Let me see if I can share this properly. And actually, you know what? Ange, can you record? It's not recording. Right?
On my side. Got it.
All right. Let's see. Let me just make sure it's being recorded. There we go. Cool. All right. So I want to share this with you guys. Sorry about that. I want to make sure we can get this recorded because this is going to be really cool. So this presentation is basically about how to unlock consistent speaking gigs using the speaker flywheel. So let's start off with some very simple questions. And these are rhetorical. How much money do you want to make in the next 12 months as a speaker? I can't decide this for you. You have to decide this for yourself, right? Wait, why is this showing goofy? This is weird. There we go. Is that better? Is that looking right, Ange? Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure.
Yes.
So I'm like, why is this showing crazy? All right. So the first question is, how much money do you want to make as a speaker in the next 12 months? Right? Write that down, right? And how many speaking gigs will it take to hit that number based on your current fee? Right? The next question is how do you have more than one way to get paid as a speaker? Most speakers only get paid to show up. Today, we're going to talk about the 3 ways to get paid as a speaker. You don't just get paid to show up. The best ones get paid 2 or 3 other ways, right? And then my final question is, what's your plan to reach that goal? Hope is not a strategy, right? So let me tell you why I'm qualified to talk about this. I started off as a growth hacker. My job was to basically help software companies to get more clients in the cheapest way possible, right? So what we would do is we would send emails to people and ask them to buy the software. Someone asked me, hey, I'm a John Maxwell coach. Can you help me to get more speaking gigs? Ironically, that someone is now our director of operations, Ange. Ange asked me 8 years ago, can you help me to get more speaking gigs as a John Maxwell coach? And I said, I can't get you the gig, but I can get you the meetings, right? So we started doing cold email. Within a week, she had about 5 meetings. And she was like, you got to do this for other people. I'm going to introduce you to Chris over at John Maxwell. I'm going to introduce you to all the best John Maxwell people because they need this. So that's when we started looking for ways to help speakers to get booked on more stages. We acquired a data company called PitchDB. We then acquired a speakers bureau. Then we started a PR agency. And then recently we bought SpeakerHub. So we didn't just make this stuff up. We went and bought the companies that were already doing it and then put that knowledge base together to create what we have now in SpeakerHub. Actually, this acquired thing, we just bought a course company 2 weeks ago. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to be adding so much more value for you guys because our job is to be an amplifier of speakers. Now, why is this important? Here's what I learned from those companies. We were doing done-for-you pitching when I first met Ange. PitchDB was our podcast software. PR Pitches is our PR and writing software that helped us with the PR agency thing. But here's what I learned. You can get booked with speaking gigs the same way that we book sales appointments because a speaking gig is really just a sales appointment. You're selling the event host on hiring you. Your product is you and your message, right? With PitchDB, we learned the power of being a guest on a podcast. I'm going to ask a really quick question. How many of you all have a favorite speaker? Think of your top 5 favorite speakers. Have you heard all 5 of them speak live? You can say yes or no. If you've heard your top 5 speakers all speak live, put it in the chat. No, no, no. Exactly. So that means that you got caught up in their flywheel. But most speakers, they'll say, I only want to speak live. Well, how can you be the greatest speaker if you're not the greatest known? Right? Best is best when known by most. Let me say it again. Best is best when known by most. So if you make the best cookies, Susan Ritter, but nobody knows you make the best cookies, guess what? To the world, you don't make the best cookies, right? But the best cookies in the world are the ones that are the most popular because you got to be known by enough people. Podcast is the way to do that. That's what we figured out, right? So let's go back to this really quick. I just wanted to make that quick point. But what do we learn from PR pitches, having the PR agency? The media still creates thought leaders. If I introduce Tom McMenamin, I said, hey, this is Tom McMenamin. He helps people to, what do you do, Tom? Unmute. Tell me what you do real quick.
Motivational talks.
Okay, this is Todd. Tom, he does motivational talks. But if I introduced him as Tom, the Forbes contributor, business contributor, his speaking fee probably goes up $5,000 just because he's a thought leader now and he has that stamp of approval from Forbes or Fortune or Sales Magazine or Success Magazine or whatever. Just by getting those press credentials, you can raise your speaking fee. Not only that, but you get paid. If you should watch Kamanzi's talk. Kamanzi's going to do a great talk on how speakers can make $2,000 per article just to write about their topic. That's a great session that we did with Kamanzi. But that's what that's about. He runs PR pitches for us, right? But let's talk about this flywheel and why it's so important, right? The flywheel is where we take inbound and outbound outreach and make it all work together by mixing it with podcasts, associations, conferences, and media. If I know a lot of you all have probably been on podcasts before. Some of you have done conferences. Some of you have done media outlets. Here are the things that I've learned from working with 300 speakers and booking more than 10,000 meetings with meeting planners over the last few years. And I'll show you the data so you can see it. So it's all verifiable, right? Here are the 4 growth hacks that I learned. Growth hack number 1, proactively pitch the stages you want. Don't wait to be found or discovered. In the past, all you had was a SpeakerHub profile. So you put up your profile, you pay for it for a year, and you say, well, nobody called me. I understand. But what if that wasn't an option? What if you had to actually reach out to people? This is what we found that the best speakers are doing. Matthew, he did our first session today. Matthew paid us to reach out to 2,500 conferences a month for him. He's one of our clients. That's what we did for Matt. We reached out to 2,500 conferences a month. How do you compete with that if you're just waiting in somebody's directory, even if it's ours? We're glad to have you as a client, but we didn't think that was the most effective way. So we're adding proactive pitching to SpeakerHub Pro. Is that fair? Yeah. So growth hack number 1, go after the stages you want. Nobody's going to knock on your door and hand out your dream. You know, nobody came and gave you your first job. You had to go apply for it. Same thing with speaking, right? Growth hack number 2, use one stage to get you bigger stages. Again, use one stage to get you bigger stages. Always be building momentum from small stages to larger platforms. Let me give you a great example. Let's say you're an emerging speaker. You're just starting out. You've never had a gig before in your life. How do you get booked for a speaking gig? You go on podcast first. Why? Because the podcast gives you an opportunity to share your thoughts in a coherent way, and now the meeting planner can try you out. No meeting planner wants to risk their job hiring somebody who's inexperienced that may get up there and embarrass them. So go on a few podcasts to give them an opportunity to listen to you. So when you send your pitch, you're saying, hey, I've been on these 3 podcasts. I would love to come talk about the speaker flywheel or whatever your topic is at your local association. Is that fair? Right? So now that you've spoken now that you have the podcast, you get booked at a local association. When you go to that local association, you know what you do? You take your camera and you take your son or your daughter with you and you say, record everything I do. I'm going to go talk at this real estate association. Take my phone wherever I go, follow me. And you record that speaker reel. Now, if I wanted to speak at real estate conferences, I would go talk at every real estate agency in my city. Why? Because I'm going to get 20 speaker reels. And I'm gonna get them all together because I want to talk at the real estate conference. I don't want to send them me talking at a hospital. I'm talking to real estate agents. So I need a speaker reel for each industry that I'm trying to target. That's what the best are doing. If they're going to pitch insurance, they're not going to send a real estate speaker reel. They're going to send an insurance speaker reel so that when the person sees the visual cue of the Progressive logo in the back and the State Farm logo, they say, oh, he really do talk to insurance agencies. Let him come in. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. A lot of the big conferences are booked off of recommendations from the local associations. So if you want to talk at the big insurance conference, guess what? The Big I is asking the local chapters, who are the best speakers this year in your local area? If you do Illinois and Missouri and Iowa, guess what? You're probably going to get one of the stages at the national conference. Why? Because those 3 states will actually recommend you. So you see how I turned a podcast into an association gig, and then I turned an association gig into a national conference? That's using one stage to get bigger stages. That's what the best guys are doing, right? Let's go to number 3. Learn how to give profitable free speeches. I hear it all the time. I don't speak for free. Neither do I, right? I just get paid in a different way than how you get paid, right? You may not always get paid to show up, but you should always get paid during or after the event. There's 3 ways to get paid for a speaking gig. You can get paid up front. Usually that's because you're famous and you can sell tickets, or you have a relationship with the people booking you so they know that there's no risk, right? You can get paid during the event, meaning selling from the stage or having what is it called? A booth in the back or something of that sort. Or you can get paid after the event. Duran, what's your question? Let's go.
Good morning, Ron. I'm Darren
What
Frank.
up? What up?
I want to go back to the strategy that you talked about, creating a speaker reel.
Yep.
So here in Dallas, man, I'm speaking, and my niche is educators, right? So there's a conference coming up that I'm just going to go to network and introduce myself. But you mentioned you want to have someone to film you as you go to introduce yourself and just have networking conversations. Is that what talk? Can you give a little more information about what
you say? You talk on education, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. And or are you trying to speak at schools, or where are you trying to speak at?
Yeah, so I speak at schools now to students, but I'm also evolving to using my expertise as a math teacher and an athletic administrator to also speak to teachers and development and things of that nature.
Okay, go back to the same schools that hired you as a teacher, if you don't already have the video, and ask, hey, can I do one of you all's quarterly workshops? They do workshops all the time.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were school teachers. Can I come in and present at one of your quarterly workshops? Right? And there's going to be a room full of what? Teachers. The students are at home doing the workshops. Record that. And now you can show you spoke at 5 different schools talking to their teachers and administrators. That's your new speaker reel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm already kind of doing that, but I thought you were saying something different. All right.
No. But for those who aren't doing it, that's how they should do it, right? You need.
Hey, Ron.
But now, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I will be speaking in November to my high school, the entire school. Not something I typically do. And I first approached the athletes in the athletic department because it's all about work ethic, and they felt that it would be good for the whole school. They're only going to cover my transportation fees, lunch and meal and transportation, which is fine. I went to the school. My kids went to that same school. That's fine. But I said, you have a tremendous film department and they want to be shooting and editing and learning all that. Light the stage, mic the stage like you're having a school play and film me. So, I'll get material for the reel that way.
How incredible is that? That's probably $3,000 worth of work.
Yeah.
Right? If you had to have the staff to come out, the cameras, all of that stuff to get the editing, that's $3,000 worth of work. Again, you may not always get paid in cash, but you should get paid some way.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't believe in free speech. So let me make sure. I'm not telling you to go out here, speak for free. No. Figure out how to get paid in other ways. Right? So I can get paid up front. I can sell from the stage. I may get more followers. Does that make sense? I may get consulting clients out of the audience, but I'm always going to have a strategy before I show up on how I'm going to get paid. Is that fair, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other things that I offered. I have a couple of books. One would be really important to the students, so I would bring boxes of books of that one book. And another is where that school is, I have kind of a local following, so I asked if we could keep an area of the auditorium open to invite people from outside.
Yep, and that's really cool. Think about it. How many of y'all have a business card shelf in your house where you just show all the business cards off that you have? Nobody. I got all these books. People gave me these books for free. I ain't read none of them, right? But they got a free billboard in the background of the Pro Speaker Summit that about 1,000 people are going to see over the next 3 days. It's a free billboard.
Yeah.
Get a book. We got a great session on why every speaker should have a book, at least so that people don't throw your business card away when you give it to them. They put them up in the back of the room, right? So I want to get a couple more questions before I go over to the next part. Rodney, I saw you had your hand up, and then we'll go to Nadine, and then I'm going to get back into the presentation, okay?
Yes. Hi, good morning. I've got about 23 years at the executive level and recently left and went and started my own consulting business. And in about 3 weeks, I'm delivering a TEDx talk. And I want to know from you, how do I leverage that into getting on stages to be this keynote speaker to deliver my message?
Okay, right. That's a great question, right? So everybody says that, oh no, I want to be paid to speak. And then they go do a free TEDx talk. And I'm like, they don't pay you to do TEDx talks, but everybody wants to do it. Why? Because they realize that money isn't the only way that they get paid, right? So how do you leverage that TEDx talk? Number one, kill it. Go
Okay.
and be good. Most speakers ain't that good. They haven't had enough time on stage. They haven't had enough time in front of small groups to even get in front of a group of 500 to 1,000 people. So the first thing is be really good. If you're really good, everything else usually takes care of itself because people know a good speaker when they hear one.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So that's the first thing.
Okay.
TED is going to record some different things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they're going to give you different video assets. Have your own. If you got a cousin or somebody you can pay $100 to just show up and take photos of you on that stage, I would try to get one person behind the stage so they can get me with an audience shot.
Okay.
Like a family member that's backstage that can get me some audience shots, especially if it's a TEDx and it's a big audience. I want that back, like that behind the curtain hiding shot, right? But also, I want someone in the audience with a professional camera. One of the great things, you should watch the session by Stan Pearson. Stan is going to talk about how do you develop a cadence in your speech. Now, why is that important? And I was like, what's a cadence? Now, Stan and I are drummers. So we talk about like playing drums. We know what cadences are in a drum. But he was like, no, I got certain sections in my talk where I just stop. So my person can take my photo. Right? He's like, I got certain parts of my speech where I'm doing this and they take the photo and it ends up being the best photo because the photographer is looking for it because I told him at this point, I'm going to say this and I'm going to stop. And he gets the shot.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
You only learn that from experience, guys. We're giving you the best speakers who have done it. Stan does 60 gigs a year, right? To put it in perspective, right? So, did that answer your question, Rodney?
It did. Thank you so much for that. You gave me a lot of good nuggets there. I appreciate it, brother.
Cool. There was someone else. Nadine, did she disappear?
No, I'm still here, but
Okay.
you've answered the question indirectly, so it's fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. And Fiona, real quick.
Yeah, thanks. This is great. I love the energy. And for people who are trying to get onto the TED stage, do you have any tips for that? I know it's probably not your expertise, but I know
I'll give you an easy hack, right? So I booked a TEDx talk that got canceled because of COVID, but I'll tell you how I did it. So I reached out. I knew that the deadline was over, right? But you should do this even if the deadline isn't over. I said, hey, I know you have TEDx set up for May. Do you have a list of alternative speakers just in case if someone gets sick or they can't show up? And they were like, no, we don't. Okay, put me on that list. You notice I didn't say, oh, y'all don't? Why don't y'all have one? No, put me on the list. I'm going to be that guy on that list, right? Put me on that list, right? Now, here's the other thing. Look for TEDx talks outside of your local area. One of my favorite quotes is, the suitcase is more powerful than the briefcase. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If I have to show up to the talk and pack a suitcase, I'm more likely to be highly esteemed by the audience than if I could just come down the street with my briefcase. Because they'll just say, oh, that's just Fiona from such and such over downtown, whatever city you live in. But if they say, all the way from Medellin, Colombia, it is Fiona Pestadino. They're like, ooh, she must be good. They flew her all the way in. Look for a speaking gig. Look for TEDx talks outside of your local area because usually they don't want to pay to fly somebody in, but they would love to have somebody from the outside to give a perspective. That is a huge hack. Huge. It's cheating. Mm-hmm. It's cheating. Why? Because the host wants to be sure that they look good when they introduce the person, all the way from Egypt. Who is this? They must be special to come from Egypt. And it doesn't have to be that far, but I'm just saying, if you want an easy hack to get a TED Talk, worst thing is asked to be an alternative. But the best case scenario, pitch the ones outside of your area and cover your own costs to get there. I was going to go to Guyana. I live in Medellin, Colombia. I was going to fly over to Guyana, a country next to it, in order to do the talk because it was easy. I'm like, dude, I ain't never been there. I would love to get the stamp on my passport. Go there for vacation, do the TED Talk, come back home. Right? So that's a quick hack. All right, let me get back into it so we don't lose our momentum. here. But hopefully this was helpful, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so let me see how I can share my screen again and go to, let's recap. Growth hack number 1, proactively pitch the stages you want, whether they're TED Talks, local schools, whatever. Pitch the ones you want to be at. Number 2, use the smaller stage to get the bigger stage, right? Number 3, learn to give profitable free speeches, right? 3 ways to get paid: before, during, and after your event. A lot of the associations won't pay you to show up, but you can get consulting clients out of that meeting. You go into a room with 20 executives, if you don't walk out with two closes, like 2 people asking you to come talk or help out their company, work on your speech. Get better. That's all that they're saying. If they don't ask for you to come do it more, get better. That's the best answer, right? And there's nothing wrong with get better. We all have to get better. Growth hack number 4, invest in the right tools and data sets. There's so much software out here nowadays, guys. I mean, there's a lot of great companies that are doing great things for speakers. Nobody's Googling anymore. We ain't got time to be Googling with ChatGPT and all the data companies. I mean, I could name 5 of our competitors that sell lists of speaking gigs. Don't waste your time Googling, right? It's just an avoidance behavior. And it costs you more to have your staff member Googling than what it does just to subscribe to somebody's list, right? The best speakers are outsourcing that. You're not going to find Les Brown. I can only imagine if Les sent me a message, Ron, can you Google me some speaking gigs? I'd be like, Les, no. I would tell him no. I'm not going to do that, right? Because he's not going to do it himself, right? The best speakers are not going to be Googling speaking gigs. They're going to buy data and they're going to do the outreach. Is that fair? So how does this flywheel thing work? Now that you understand what we've learned, the 4 growth hacks, how do we put this into place, right? So this is the speaker flywheel. The first and most important part of this is being found. Do people even know you're a speaker? Do people even know you do what you do? Do they have any evidence that you do it? How do you get found? You got social media, LinkedIn, speaker profiles, whether it's Speaker Hub or some other profile, but you got to be Googleable. When they type in Angela Lewis, there's a bunch of Angela Lewises, right? That's a common name. But if they type in Angela Lewis speaker, they better see Angela, right? They should see her with her basketball. She's a former WNBA, well, it was WNBA, but this was before the WNBA. Former professional basketball player. They're going to see her dunking on somebody probably, right? But they're going to see her with her book and the basketball in one hand because that's what she does, right? You got to be able to be found. Those are called inbound leads, meaning that you've put enough stuff in the atmosphere for people to find you. Is that fair? Cool. Well, what's the second way? Outbound leads. The first way is passive. You don't have any control over who finds you, right? That's called a trap. If we think of it like putting bear traps out there, you got to hope someone steps in the trap to find you. But outbound is a spear. You go after the bears you want to kill. You throw you chuck your spear at whoever you're trying to, kill for that day. That's events that you reach out to. Most of you all are doing half of it. Either you have a profile someplace and you're waiting. I only get booked on referrals. Cool. But you're losing to the guys like Matt and the other speakers that are on the Lethea did 172 speaking gigs her first year. And I asked her how. Watch that session. She said, I reached out to him. I said, perfect. Talk more about how you did that. So I just asked him if I could come speak. Great. Right? So outbound is a big portion of it. You got to be found so that they can verify you. Let me show you. Watch. Look what happens. You get all your profiles and your stuff in your Instagram, right? When you reach out to people, what are they going to do? They're going to Google you. If you put the links in the bottom of your email, they're going to click to see, does Tom really talk about this? Right? So you see how they work together? Because they're going to go verify you. They don't really trust you. They got to go verify that you really have the goods. So you got to do both. One by itself doesn't work. Well, I'm just going to do outbound. But if they go and they can't find you, they're not going to respond. Well, I'm just going to do inbound. Cool. But you're going to lose to the people that are jumping ahead of the line. Let me tell you a quick secret. Now, if you don't remember anything else, remember this. No event planner wants to look through 1,500 applications. Okay? So when they send you that application, they really don't want to look through those. If a qualified speaker emails them and is qualified, they don't even look through them applications. So just skip the line. Be good and skip the line. But what does that mean? That means you have to pitch gigs that you're qualified for. You don't want to be pitching out of your league. Does that make sense? New speaker, never spoken before. I'm going to pitch to speak a 30,000 seat arena.
Not happening.
Come on now. Come on, don't do that, right? But they don't want to look through all those applications. So if you can be qualified and be findable and have the goods, you can skip that line. Is that fair?
Yeah. Hey, Ron.
Yep.
It's Tom. Can I share a quick little story with you?
Yeah, go ahead. Really quick. You got 45 seconds.
Yeah, right. I went to a very small networking group, really small, the kind that most of us would just take for granted as not a lead place, right? And everyone in the room who introduced themselves were seated. And when it came around to me, I said, nah, this is my moment. I'm going to stand up and command attention, even if it's for 30 seconds. And I did, and I evidently made an impression. And the very next morning, I got a call from a gentleman who heads up a Vistage group, which is, major cities, all CEOs, saying, I'm told you need to come speak with us. And typically you have to earn points to be able to become a speaker at Vistage. But I guess I was able to circumvent that, and I went and spoke and had a great session. I told them their time frame was 3 hours. It was too long. Why don't you split it in half and have 2 speakers? And that made their day more hearty. And at the end of the day, one of them hired my firm for a $50,000 video shoot.
No, that's really important. Now, that's a combination of inbound and outbound.
Yeah.
You see that? His outbound was him standing up and telling the world that he's good and showing it. The inbound was somebody in the audience that wasn't even booking people gave him a referral to Vistage. You see how inbound and outbound work? But if he never stood up and opened his mouth, he doesn't get any. Closed mouths don't get fed. Our parents have told us that our whole lives. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's it. So great story, Tom. I'm glad you shared that. So let's get into how this works, because I really want to get into it. So if we understand, can we have agreement that inbound and outbound need to work together?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about these things? Podcasts, associations, conferences, media outlets. Well, I don't get paid to go on podcasts. If you don't have a product to sell, you don't. But we built an entire business, PitchDB, by me just being interviewed on podcasts. Right? Every week, I probably get 5 to 10 people that reach out to me and say, I saw you on YouTube on this such and such podcast. How do you help speakers? Perfect. But if I never would have gone in that podcast. Now, let me give you a little perspective on this, because I think this is really, really, really important. In the chat, put the largest audience you've ever spoken in front of. Go ahead and type that in. What's the largest audience? It could be an estimation, 100, 500, 5,000, 13. Nobody's judging your number. I just want to know what's the largest audience you've ever spoken in front of, right? I'm going to look through these really quickly. Oh, y'all got some good questions in here too. This is good. 500, 1,000, 300. Okay, perfect. 1,200, cool. Now, there's probably some new speakers who the answer is 0, right? The average podcast gets 400 downloads, right? The average podcast gets 400 downloads, which means just by getting on a podcast, most of y'all who are under 400, you could probably reach more people just by going on a podcast than what you could impact in the room. If you're really good, you can get on some of the bigger podcasts and impact even more people. Now, why do I say that? Tony Robbins. Everybody's heard of Tony Robbins. I'm going to show you, Kyle. I'm glad you asked. We're going to show you. Tony Robbins he released a book in February called The Holy Grail of Investing. He did 250 podcast interviews 60 days before the release of that book. Right? 250 in 60 days. Now, why is that important? Because everybody tells me I'm too big to go on podcasts. You ain't Tony Robbins, bro. And if it's good enough for Tony, guess what? It's good enough for you. You can do it too, right? So podcasting is really, really, really important because that's how you expand your audience. Remember, I asked you, think of your top 5 speakers. How many of you have heard them live and in person? Most people haven't because you heard them on podcasts. You've heard them on YouTube. You've heard them on radio. You saw them on television. Radio was podcast before podcast. That's all it was, right? So you got to expand your flywheel, your scope. But then if you're new, use that podcast. Even let's say I wanted to get I wanted to switch industries, right? I wanted to go from education like Darren to working in more corporate. And I thought that my talks that worked for teachers would work for managers at corporations because teachers are really just managers, right? So what would I do? I would start going on business podcasts, teaching, transferring my energy from teaching from the education space into the corporate space. And then use that podcast interview, send it out to the local chambers of commerce. So now I'll go do a local chamber of commerce. Now I got 2 verticals. I can deal with teachers and I can deal with corporate. Make sense? See, the teachers are going to judge you based on how well of a teacher you are. Oh, that was well presented. The business folks are going to judge on how effective the stuff that you're talking about is. So you're going to get 2 different types of feedback, but it's going to make you better, Darren, because what you're talking about, there's only 3 speeches you can give people. Let me end this right here. There's only 3 speeches you can give in life. Only 3. You can help someone to become a better leader. You can help them to improve a skill, or you can help them to make money. Think of every speech you've ever heard. Even Jesus' speech fit inside of that category. Better leader, improve a skill, make more money. Every speech you've ever heard is one of those 3, which means you can go talk at any conference if you know how to fit your speech into that topic. Make sense? Okay, cool. So podcast, expand your flywheel with podcasts. That is really important. That's the first part. Use those podcasts to get the associations. That's how you get into different industries, by going on the podcast first in that industry and then transferring that knowledge into small gigs so that you can get those speaker reels. Right? Now you take those speaker reels and you send industry specific speaker reels to conferences. Don't send me your teaching speaker reel if you're trying to speak at my business. Don't send me your real estate speaker reel if you're trying to speak at an insurance conference. You're going to go talk on data science. You're going to send me something that has nothing to do with data science. Get out of here, right? Just because you're going to lose to the guys who are doing it the right way. I'm not saying that you may not get lucky. I'm saying you're competing with other people who are better prepared. Coach Nadine, coach me.
But what if the topic is like leadership, and it, for example, like I work with emotional intelligence and conversational intelligence. This works everywhere, in every single industry. Do I have to have talks in every single industry, or
no?
How does
I'm not. So here's what we know, right? We can talk about leadership in a lot of different ways. Let me give you a great example. Just in business,
okay,
right? In a startup company that's just getting started, that has 2 employees and they're eating ramen noodles, that's a different leadership conversation than a company our size that has about 30 employees, which is different than a company that has 300 employees, which is different than you going to talk at Apple.
Yeah.
Right? So depending on who the audience, the people that are going to be in the audience at the conference, you need to be relative to them. Right? Because you talk to a bunch of little small startups, Apple may not bring you in. They may not see that as being relevant. But if you say, hey, I spoke at all the Vistages and all the EO organizations, because they have a minimum $25 million to get in those groups, you see how it's a different level of leadership talk? So you still want to have diverse speaker reels here's the thing. You're going to be speaking. Why not just record it anyway?
Yeah.
You got to go. It ain't like you not showing up. You got to go. It costs $25 to get somebody on Fiverr to make a video out of it. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
even if you don't use them, have them.
Okay.
It's not, is it worth it? Are you worth it? Are you worth having a reel for $25 that shows your skills in its best light for the right audience?
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yes.
Right message, right time to the right audience. Got it? Cool. All right. So let me go to the next one, right? All right. So now we know how to get to conferences. But guess what? You want to increase your fees at a conference? Be a columnist. Go write someplace. Get an article in Parents Magazine where you can write once a month. I guarantee you, your mental toughness and child development talks cost a little bit more because you're a columnist for Parents Magazine. Right? You stand out when compared to everyone else. And they can say, well, I guess she is 10,000 versus 7,000. She writes for parents. I expect her to be more. You expect an NBA player to be better than a college player. Does that make sense? So you use that media outlets to make it easier to get on the bigger podcast. Make sense? Hey, I'm a contributor for Fortune. I would love to come on your podcast to talk about this. Heck yeah, come on. Because you know, they ain't never had nobody that's been on Fortune in their podcast, right? And I'm not saying there's two types of media coverage. You can be the guest, meaning somebody's writing a story about you, or you can actually be the writer. I think as speakers, you're thought leaders. So you have to express that thought in multiple different formats. Whether that's on stage, whether that's through writing, whether that's on a podcast, your job is to lead with your thoughts. It's not to be a thought follower. So you got to do the leadership things. Thought leaders write. They write articles. And now with all the stuff, you can dictate it and have ChatGPT edit it for you. You can't have ChatGPT write it for you, but you can have it edit it and make it if you're not a great writer. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So that's the flywheel. Let me show you why this works. So this is how it looks all together. But guess what? Everybody who's a speaker are not all at the same level. Some of you all are new. Some of you all are intermediate. Some of you all are experts, right? So we've kind of put our speakers in three different levels: the emerging, experienced, and expert speakers. Now, self-categorize yourself. I'm not here to judge you, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're full-time or part-time, but I look at it from this perspective. Someone who's been doing it for 8 years and they kind of shudder when they ask for a price, they're probably not in that category. They're probably not an expert. They may have qualified in number of years, but probably not amount of time on stage to get the credentials to ask for $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. Does that make sense? Right? You may be an emerging speaker wanting to move up to experienced. Right? Did somebody send me a cloud recording? I don't know who that is. We're not gonna let you record, but we're gonna record it. Huh? We're gonna record it on our side and give it to you. Right? So, but this emerging, you will get a replay of this. The emerging experienced expert. Find the category you belong in. Why is that important? Because that affects the flywheel that you work with. If you're just starting off, don't try to do conferences. Get on podcasts and get good at doing associations. Get good in rooms under 100 people. Why? Because you don't know how to read body language. You don't know when you're putting people to sleep. You don't know any of that. This is how you get good at it. A lot of the associations will also do virtual. So not only are you getting on stage time, but you're learning how to do virtual talks, right? How do you do this Zoom thing and make it entertaining and go in and out or whatever? Is this fair? Dr. Laura, what's up?
Hi, I'm so excited that you shared that. So my work is with, I'm a dad advocate. So I'm a social worker and I specialize in parental justice, specifically for dads. What I've found is that a lot of the stages have been, some of the meetings I've been reaching out to have been really small ones. And so they've asked for virtual participation, which of course would result in, less fees to be charged. My question is, for something that, you're a guest speaker at a regular HR meeting, right? SHRM kind of meeting where there are 10, 15 people within that chapter. Is asking for $1,000 too much for, 15, 20 minutes of just a quick talk? Or because I feel like I'm lessening the amount of money I should truly be charging as opposed to really giving what my value is. But I also recognize that they're not paying for transportation or lodging, or it's not the larger group.
So I think speaker fees are negotiable, right? Now, let me tell you why. I always want to get booked on the stages I want to be on. So I cheat. Let me tell you how I cheat. I tell them I'm going to pay them to let me get on the stage. They take all your calls when you say that. Right? Because you know what's happening? Everybody else is calling and say, pay me, pay me. No, I'm going to pay y'all. How much does it cost for a half hour on your stage at this event?
Roughly about $8,000, $9,000.
Right? For a half hour to be on that stage, that's what they charge?
Yes.
Right? So that's what I would do. I would pay for it if I really wanted that stage. Does that make sense? But if you want to do it and get paid in other ways, right? You may go up for free, but if you get 3 clients out of do you offer another product besides just speaking?
Actually, I do. In fact, I have 3 workshops at a 3-day conference in LA that I'm not getting paid for, but it has 1,400 participants. It's a Fathers and Families Coalition convention, and it has an opportunity for me to really make some serious connections, which I think will lead into multiple speaking gigs.
That's it. You got to get paid in other ways. So even if you're not getting paid a lot up front, right? And I know SHRM has their own speaking bureau of SHRM approved speakers, so forth and so on, because they know you're going to get clients out of the audience, right? If you go do a SHRM talk and they bring you in to do HR consulting for $50,000, take it, right? I mean, let's not be, unreasonable. Oh no, man, I don't want to illogical. Irreasonable is not a word. Let's not be illogical. You don't want to let the tail wag the dog. Sometimes the upfront fee is always going to be less than the consulting fee. And I would rather have my opportunity to get the consulting money. Is that fair?
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. So if you're an emerging speaker, podcasting associations, use those associations to get the consulting gigs, to go into the corporation to do a speech, to do a training, something of that sort, sell a product or a service, right? That's what that's about with both of these. This is how much it takes, how much time we believe it takes to get booked on those, right? You should be reaching out to 2 podcasts a day and 3 associations, right? That'll get you booked on 48 podcasts a year and 12 association gigs. I'm going to assume that most people, not all, but most people on this call haven't been interviewed on 48 podcasts in a year and probably aren't speaking monthly. The average speaker in our database does 5 gigs a year. So you want to be above average, just do this. And then you can do this as a part-time speaker. Keep your full-time job and do this, do 1 gig a month and get on podcast. I guarantee you will get better at what you do. Now, this is the minimum in my mind that an emerging speaker should be doing. Why? Because the only way you get better at the beginning is by doing more. You need more exercise. Is that fair? Right? So the experienced speaker, you add conferences. So you should be doing podcasts, associations, and conferences. Right? What does that look like? You should be reaching out to 2 podcasts, 3 associations, and 5 conferences on a daily basis. On a weekly basis, that's 10, 15, and 25. By the end of the year, you should have been on 48 podcasts, done 12 small gigs, and 4 larger gigs. This is the bare minimum. I know some of you all are going to do more, but we ain't even doing the minimum, right? I talked to some speakers, and I'm saying this personally because it's really annoying for someone who wants to help speakers. I'm like, yo, we can help you. Well, I only do this. I only do that. Okay, how many gigs you got next month? I don't have none next month. Well, lower your tone. Calm down just a little bit, because the arrogance gets in the way of people being able to help you. You just need more reps. Just get on more stages. Does that make sense? Because I talk on this and I'm cool, but you don't have any gigs. So what are we talking about? Right? My job is to help you get more gigs, but I'm not going to wrestle with you. Right? So these are the bare minimums. I think you can do more, but you're going to lose to the people that are on stage more. Right? So if you're an expert, you need to be getting more media outlets. Rodney, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Right? You need to be getting more media outlets. Right? Because you've been on the conferences, you're doing the associations, you're doing the podcast, but I want you to be able to raise your fee by using a credential to raise your fee. Right? And then these articles, they pay $2,000-$3,000 per article. So while you're waiting on a conference to come up, because conferences are 9 months out, be writing some articles, right? You get an extra $8,000 to $10,000 a month coming in from your articles. Nobody's going to complain about that as a career choice. A lot of you all want to transfer out of corporate into speaking, but you don't have steady gigs, but you can get steady articles. Again, it's about being a thought leader, not just a voice leader, a speaker, right? Any questions, Rodney? Let's have yours.
Yeah, so I would just wanted to respond to the individual that you talked about getting on the SHRM stage. Well, there are these individual events called District HR events. They're similar to TED Talks. They're around 300 cities around the world. The application process is a lot easier than the TED Talk, and it's primarily for HR professionals in the corporate world. But getting on those stages will help you out. It'll help you with connections.
Yep.
For SHRM, it'll help you out with connections for the individuals that's looking to speak in the corporate world. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
100%. Look up Disrupt HR Arizona, which has Phoenix and Tucson, is run by a SpeakerHub client, Tamika Sears. Look her up on LinkedIn. She's always looking for speakers. I think she does an event every 3 months with Disrupt HR. She runs 2 chapters by herself in Arizona.
And I'm also on the organizing committee for District HR Houston. We just closed out our speakers. We had about 50 people to apply. We only have 14 slots, and our event is in January. So they're located all over the world, right? But it's an excellent stage to get on to practice your craft. And it'll give you connections for individuals and getting in on the SHRM stage as well.
Yep, and consulting. If somebody's coming to listen to people talk about HR, they probably got HR problems.
Yes.
You know? So, no, that's a good point. I'm glad you helped. Thanks, because we work with Tamika directly, and Tamika is a great friend. I love what she's doing with Disrupt HR. So at least hit her up.
I'd love to connect with her. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Tamika Sears, like the old grocery store or whatever it was. Okay. Sears Robux.
Yes.
Right?
Thanks.
All right. So if you're an advanced speaker, you should be doing this because you should be full-time. You should be writing for at least 4 publications, doing about 100 podcasts a year, being in 24 associations, doing one of those 2 a month, one of those every 2 weeks, and doing probably 2 conferences a quarter, right? We found this to be very effective if you're using the flywheel. I know a lot of people want to skip. I'm telling you, use the flywheel. It is the cheat code, right? Rodney, did you have another question? Should I lower your hand? Stephen, what's up? Stephen Boyd, my education speaker.
Yes, sir. Hey, quick question for you. As relates to the articles, you were talking about writing articles, generating revenue from articles. Could you talk just a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, watch the session. This is my only speech on this. Watch the session by Kamanzi Constapel. It's called How to Get Paid from Writing Articles. I think it's tomorrow or the day after.
Okay, great.
He goes into it. I think we go on for about an hour and a half. We own a company together called PR Pitches, where all we do is get people booked in these magazines. You want to check out Kamanzi's session. Kamanzi writes for 90. You can Google him, Kamanzi Constapel. He writes for 90 publications right now, currently.
Thank you.
Wall Street Journal, awesome. Forbes, Fortune, CNET, Business Insider. He writes for everybody, and he's giving you the goods.
All right, awesome. Hey, and just so
Right now,
everybody
here's the
knows,
great thing. No problem, Steve. Here's the great thing about the writing thing, because I want to harp on this a little bit. You heard Lawson. I can't think of his first name. I can't see it because I'm sharing. Is it Lawson? His name's Lawson. He was just up here talking about disrupting
Yes, Rodney,
HR. Rodney. You heard Rodney talk about they had 50 people apply for only 15 slots. Guess what? On the internet, they got unlimited capacity for articles. They only got so many speaking gigs. The internet allows, Forbes can have 1,000 articles published today and 10,000 published tomorrow, and it does not affect their business negatively. So there's unlimited writing opportunities. Do you see that? There may not be unlimited stages, but there are unlimited writing opportunities to get paid $1 to $2 per word. Watch, I'm not going to spoil the session, but there's unlimited opportunities. I'm telling you, there's unlimited opportunities there. Really quick, Darren.
Yes, you spoke about event planners. That's an obstacle that I'm having. If you could just share a nugget about how to attract and get to be able to outbound to those event planners.
There it is. Look at that. See, people going to think I paid you to ask that question at this time. Because guess what the next slide on my thing was? I'm going to show y'all the new Speaker Hub, right? So here it is. In the past, Speaker Hub was just a speaker profile. Now we've added, and it's a true hub of what we're doing. It used to just be a profile where you fill out your profile and you hope that someone finds you, right? That's the old Speaker Hub. The new Speaker Hub includes speaker data. We have 3.5 million podcast hosts. We have 209,000 associations around the world, not just in the US. 60% of our customers are not in the US, 209,000 worldwide associations that have monthly meetings that need speakers. We have 170,000 media outlets, radio, TV, magazines, whether you want to reach out to the editor to be a writer or you want to be covered. We have those people in the new Speaker Hub. 45,000 international conferences. 45,000 international conferences, right? So not only do you get your profile, but now you get the data. We didn't just give you a bunch of spreadsheets. I know a lot of y'all buy courses and you get spreadsheets and you never use them. I understand. I hated it too. So we built the CRM for you to be able to manage those things. So you don't even have to input that data, even though you can. You can take your speaker leads you've been subscribing to from all these different lead companies, and you can upload them into the new Speaker Hub and pitch them. Our AI, which is the next thing, Speaker GPT, will match you to the right conferences on that list, and it will write the email for you. Did you hear what I said? It will match you to the conferences on your list that you gave it, and it will write the email for you. I'm going to show you in a moment, right? And then we got Speaker VA, where if you're too busy, you're a big-time speaker, like Matthew was like, Ron, we need someone to do it. He hired us to do the outreach for him. Stephen Boyd, he's one of our done-for-you clients. We pitched Stephen. That's how I knew he was an education speaker. He's a full-time administrator at a school, but he does speaking. This is where we actually live this, okay? This ain't made up, right? But we wanted to give you everything you needed to get paid speaking gigs in one place, not all over the place, right? We don't need you using 14 different softwares. So who can use this? All of y'all, entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, nonprofit leaders, anybody who has thought leadership in their mind, they probably should be getting booked on podcasts and small gigs, conferences, and writing articles about what they're doing. So it works for everybody, right? Here's what we're trying to make sure. We want to eliminate Google searches. That should be dead. We want to eliminate creating spreadsheets. That should be dead. We want to eliminate podcast matching software. You ain't got to pay for that special thing over there. You ain't got to pay for ChatGPT. You don't need some complicated CRM. You don't need some expensive cold email software. Old school speaker one sheet. You know, send a PDF. They're going to block your email. That's why we don't tell people to do one sheets, because if you send an email to a stranger with an attachment, Google's going to put you in spam. So you don't need that old one sheet anymore. You don't need some generic pitch template. You don't need a complicated website. Some email guessing thing. I heard someone talk about that. You can use this thing and it'll guess everybody. You don't need that. We just give you the email address, right? So what else do you need? You need to get your butt to work. That's all that's left to do, is to do the work. If you just do the work, it'll be fine. So I'm going to show you the software in a second, right? So how many of y'all want to see the new Speaker Hub if you haven't seen it? You want to see it? Cool. Let's do it. All right. Let me pull it up. Some of our users are in the crowd. They've been using it for a while, so it's not going to be new to them, but to a lot of you guys, it's going to be a new thing. 1 second. Bring up my page here. All right, let me get logged in. All right, let me share my screen. All right, you get to see it for the first time. So if you look, we've redesigned the entire homepage for Speaker Hub, focusing on the new Speaker Hub Pro. And I want to give you a first look. And this is the perfect time for it not to work. But what is it? If something's bound to happen, whatever, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. For some reason, it won't let me into it. What is this? 1 second. Let me try it again. New window. Pro.SpeakerHub. What is going on? Okay. Well, I wanted to show it to you. Ange, can you try in the background and let me know when it's ready? I'm going to keep going with the presentation, and then Ange will let me know. I don't know why the page isn't working. And if you can hit up Miguel or somebody to figure that out, right? Yes. But what if all you were able to do with the new Speaker Hub was consistently share your message with the world, right? What if all you could do was get paid from podcasts and speaking gigs? What if it allowed you to cancel all those tools I mentioned earlier? But here's the biggest one. What if you could make back some of that money you done paid these coaches that ain't never got you a gig? A lot of y'all done spent tens of thousands of dollars with coaches that never got you a gig. And you feel bad about it. And I feel bad for you. So we want to make sure that you can get booked on those stages to at least break even on that, right? Is it working again, Ange?
No, the site pulled up.
Okay.
But
all right, so
no, I'm contacting Miguel right now.
Yeah, that's not good. All right. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you something else. Let me show it to you this way. Can you see my screen still? Let's show it this way. And let's go to Speaker Hub. And I'm going to show you the demo video from the homepage. Sorry about this, guys. I thought I'd never expected a bug, but that's what happens when you have new things. All right, so if you come here.
Welcome to the new Speaker Hub, the platform designed to help you take control of your speaking career and get booked faster than ever before. I'm excited to show you how Speaker Hub's 5 powerful features can help you grow from small stages to big ones using our proprietary SpeakerFLYWHEEL system. The SpeakerFLYWHEEL is a strategy that helps speakers turn small gigs into larger ones, building momentum over time. Here's how it works. You start by getting booked on smaller stages, podcasts, local events, or association meetings. As you perform, you build your reputation, grow your audience, and move to bigger stages, conferences, keynotes, and international events. It's all about building credibility, gaining visibility, and charging higher fees. Each small gig pushes your flywheel faster, helping you move from where you are today to where you want to be, a high-demand, well-paid speaker. Now, let me walk you through the 5 powerful features of Speaker Hub that will help you make the Speaker Flywheel work for you. First is your speaker profile. This is your personal stage online. Speaker Hub's profiles are optimized to rank at the top of Google, often even above your LinkedIn or Instagram. When event planners search for you, they'll see your Speaker Hub profile first. which showcases your experience, topics, and videos. This means more visibility and more inbound opportunities. Next is the Speaker CRM. This is your command center to track all your outreach, follow-ups, and bookings. With Speaker CRM, you can easily manage your pitches, keep track of who you've contacted, and see where you're getting traction. It's designed to help you stay organized and never miss a booking opportunity. Next is Speaker Data. SpeakerHub gives you access to a massive database of event planners, podcasts, and media outlets. You'll have almost 4 million opportunities at your fingertips. Everything from conferences, association meetings, media outlets, and podcasts. Whether you're just starting out or looking to land a major gig, SpeakerHub's data helps you find the perfect match. Then there's Speaker GPT. Imagine having an AI assistant that writes perfect pitches for you, customized to each event or podcast you want to pitch. Speaker GPT analyzes the gig, your profile, and the organizer's needs, and then it crafts a personalized message that makes you stand out. No more struggling to write the perfect pitch. Speaker GPT does it for you. Finally, we have the Speaker VA, your virtual assistant. Need help with research, follow-ups, or organizing your schedule? Speaker VA is a real human assistant who helps you with all the tasks that take up your time so you can focus on what you do best, speaking. Whether it's finding new gigs or keeping your calendar in check, your VA is there to support you every step of the way. With these 5 features, your speaker profile, speaker data, speaker CRM, speaker GPT, and speaker VA, you have everything you need to take your career to the next level. From small gigs to big stages, SpeakerHub is here to help you get noticed, get booked, and get paid. So, are you ready to start spinning your speaker flywheel? Join the new SpeakerHub today and take control of your speaking career.
That's it, guys. That's the new SpeakerHub. Hopefully you all are happy to see it, happy to use it. I see we have some questions. Alicia, what's your question? She got a free ebook. Be sure to go get her ebook.
Hi, Ron, I had upgraded recently to the Pro, and so I'm wondering about the price for SpeakerHub and, the new one. Can we get a discount if we upgrade? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I'm going to show you that in a second, right? Give me 2 minutes and I'll get into the pricing, right? Because we know that inbound by itself doesn't work all the time, and outbound by itself doesn't work all the time. The new SpeakerHub, if you subscribe to that, you get both sides. So you get the SpeakerHub profile along with the outbound ability. Does that make sense? So that's the cool thing about it. So let me go back to the slideshow really quickly and just show you some of the results, right? And let's think about it, right? What's one paid speaking gig worth? I asked you all that earlier, right? But what if you could get consistently booked at that price? Whether it's $2,000 or whatever your consistency looks like to you, what if you could get consistently booked at that price? Say Ron is one of our recent speakers that use SpeakerHub, and she was one of our beta users, and she sent me this email about 2 weeks ago, and she says, hey, I got booked for a conference in 2025, right? She was in here a moment ago, right? But this is real. This isn't play. This is real, right? Hey, a brief call in the next few weeks would be great. We have this Women in Food conference coming up in October in Chicago, right? That's from one of our customers. Hey, glad you reached out. We're in the early stages of planning our 2025 conference. Are you available in June the 7th or June the 6th or whatever, right? This is the real stuff. Just secured my first out-of-state speaking opportunity, all expenses paid, right? Hey, Ron, I just had my first discovery call. The second meeting was booked. I want to say thank you, and I appreciate your feedback a couple of weeks ago about call reluctance. If you don't know what call reluctance is, this dude didn't want to send no pitches. I'm like, dude, send the freaking pitches. You'll be okay. Well, I want it to be perfect. Send the pitches, please. And he wrote me a thank you about that, right? And mindset. I'm like, dude, how can you win if mentally you think you're not good enough? Send the pitch and let's find out, right? And he killed it, right? This is someone we got in Forbes. That's Kamanzi. He teaches that. This is one of our clients that we got in First Women magazine. This is someone in Business Insider. So I can show you, these are big publications. That's another Success magazine that he took a photo of our client there, right? We've been doing this for a long time, guys. This ain't new, right? I just want to let you know, we can get you the opportunities that you've been looking for, right? So she asked about pricing. We match the pricing to your experience level. So if you're just starting off as a speaker and you really don't know if this is for you, you should just start going on podcasts at first. Find out if you really have a message that you want to share consistently, right? If you're an emerging speaker, we give you podcast associations and media outlets. So you can start writing for some of the smaller publications. You may not be able to get in some of the larger ones, but you can start building up some thought leadership in some of the smaller publications, right? And then if you're an experienced speaker, we add the conferences in. The idea is that if you can't use our software and if you don't get booked for 1 gig, we'll give you your money back. You got a year to do it. How do you beat that? Tell me another software company that gives you a 365-day money-back guarantee, right? So I believe that if you send the pitches, you'll get booked. I wish I could show you the actual software. Again, this is the worst time in the world for it to not go live, but we had made a change that we were trying to do for you guys. Oh, it's
Ron,
working.
we're
now.
good. We're
It's
good.
working. Okay. All right. So because we had this glitch, I got something for you guys, right? And it's only because you showed up live here. All right. But let me show it to you. Let's see. Let me log in real quick and show it to you. And I know I'm going over my time, but it's my conference, so I can go over my time. Side note, you should put on your own conferences. That is a really huge opportunity. I don't know why it's not letting me in. Come on, Google. Here we go. Right. And I'm going to go in and show you everything. How you can upload your own, leads, everything here. All right. So this is the new Speaker Hub. All right. And you can see Jody. Jody just signed up yesterday. She's already pitching, which is good. It's great. So I can come in here, and this bio was written by AI. So I'm going to say I'm Ron, and I am a leadership coach at Leaders Speak. Right? And I'm going to say I help leaders to lead and not bleed. Don't fight with your employees, right? So that's just an idea. I hit save just to be weird. I put that in there. In 15 seconds, this is going to rewrite my entire bio. I know a lot of y'all have the regular Speaker Hub bio. You hate it writing that thing. It rewrites the entire bio here. And it's going to match me to the right speaking gigs. So really quickly, there it is. Fostering a great work environment where conflict takes a back seat to constructive collaboration. I couldn't have said that better, right? Now, watch this. All of a sudden, I click on podcast, and it's already matching me with organizational culture podcast. If I want to go on this podcast, I click on it. I can listen to the episode to make sure I'm a good fit. If it's one that I want to go on, I just add it to a list. Once I click add to the list, I click pitch, and in 15 seconds, it's going to write a perfect pitch for me. Looking at my profile as that lead, not bleed coach, don't fight with your employees, and looking at this podcast. And there it is. I'm reaching out with enthusiasm as I share the passion, blah, blah, blah. But if I don't like that first line, guess what? I could erase that, right? You can go in and edit it. All you do is sit pitch. This does it for podcast associations, 209,000 associations, media outlets, 171,000, 45,000 conferences, and you can upload your own leads from whatever list you're already subscribing to. This is the new Speaker Hub. I don't have a big pitch for you. We'd love to have you all aboard. Everybody who's here today, you can go sign up now. You get a free trial for 7 days. You can try it out, see if you like it. You get 365-day money-back guarantee. It's in writing on the site, where if you use it for a year and you don't get booked, I'll just give you your money back, right? Any questions? Oh, how do I get my podcast? Let's go through some questions.
We have a number of them in the chat.
Yep. So go ahead and read them, Ange, because I can't find all that stuff. I'm tired.
Sure. Yep. I took them out. I can have them. No worries. Someone says, what would be my first steps to being a paid speaker as a foreigner here? She's in Tokyo, Japan, even and beyond. I do have a story, but want to speak from a place of power and actually gives my audience what they need, not just another story of hardship.
Okay. That is a really good question. What's the person's name that asked that?
I have to go back up.
Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll just answer it. If that was your question, you can hop on live and tell me it was you. But here's the answer. You should go listen to the session by Israel Duran. There's a session that I did with Israel Duran where he talks exactly about what you're talking about. How do you take your story and make it impactful? Les Brown is going to do a 2-hour live on Thursday about that topic. Me and him are going to have a live talk. It ain't pre-recorded. It's me and Les live talking about exactly this topic. But Israel and I, we went really far into this because a lot of people's stories will take you down into this pit of depression, but they don't know how to get you out. So if you have a story that's great, be sure that you give them a strategy of how you persisted through that story and how you overcame. Don't just tell us that this bad thing happened to you. Nobody wants to pay money to hear that, but we do want to pay to hear how to overcome. So if you can give me a framework, 5 steps of how I did this, and then weave your story into it, that's monetizable. Do you see what I mean? Right? So let me give you a great example. There's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You notice he didn't call it When I Was Lazy and Stupid, but that's what the 7 habits help you overcome. Nobody wants to hear When I Was Lazy and Stupid, but they do want the 7 habits. So you got to be able to not only tell your story, but give us a framework of how you overcome whatever your story's about. Is that fair? But Israel Duran and I go all the way deep into this and why it's important to get the framework to get out. You can't just leave us waddling in the pain of your story. That's not fair to us. Good? Okay. Other questions?
Next question. For people who are located in the Netherlands, do you offer support for that, or primarily the US? Someone else is in...
Yes. So,
yep. There are people all over the world. So they're asking Singapore. They're asking, does it work?
Yep. So Speaker Hub Pro has associations all over the world. Our conferences are all over the world. Our podcasts are all over the world, right? 60% of Speaker Hub users of our 61,000 user profiles are outside of the United States. So there was no way that we could be US focused. I'm not even in the US. I live in South America, right? I live in Medellin, Colombia. So I'm very respectful to our international crowd, and I'm very mindful that we have to get gigs that fit everyone, whether you're in Australia, Singapore, Colombia, Guatemala, Canada, New York City. We want to give an opportunity for you, right? Do I need to hire a virtual assistant? No. ChatGPT will do it for you. Hop in. It should take, you see how quick that thing wrote that pitch? That's a minute. 20 minutes a day. Hop in, send your 20 pitches, move on. I wish Say Ron was on here. Say Ron sends like 5,000 pitches a week. She almost like, I'm not kidding. Like, Say Ron hopped in and pitched so much, we thought about changing the rules because we give you free pitches if you win the contest. And we thought about changing the rules because she won every week, 8 weeks in a row. And I was like, dude, we got to do something about this. She going to discourage people. But no, we reward the winners. So she was winning. Other questions? Roy, you want our customers. Hop on. You've used this. Don't act like you ain't used this before. You've used the system. Talk about some of the success you've had.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I've used it. I'm getting booked on podcasts almost like on probably doing about 2 or 3 a month. And it took me by surprise because I followed the model of and used the AI to let it set up my pitches and everything like that. And I did my pitches. I did some last night and got instant back responses, and and it really won me over. I'm having connections with the decision makers, and it led to me also. I got invited to be a host of a podcast, so it does work when you work it.
That's it. Brenda Stratton, you're one of our customers too. Come on here.
Yes, I'm one of the founding.
She's been with us for like 4 years before we owned SpeakerHub.
Yes, you didn't own. This is wonderful. You've done I'm proud of you. I just want to say I'm proud of you. And where will I fit in? I'm ready to take on this new direction. I have the pitch, I'm the founding. It was forever. And so where do I fit? What would I fit into?
Yep. So Brenda was with us before we owned SpeakerHub. So we got to incorporate her into the SpeakerHub family, right? So we'll get together outside of this, and you'll send you my calendar, and we'll get you all set up with your SpeakerHub profile. Brenda was only on the outbound side of the business. So to give you the backstory, we ran an outbound business that didn't do profiles before we bought SpeakerHub. SpeakerHub was a all profile business that didn't do outbound. Now we put them together. Does that make sense? So it becomes the perfect match of the right system. Kimberly, you're not going to escape. I know you're over there eating. You see, Kimberly tried to put something to eat so she wouldn't have to talk. Kimberly, talk about some of the support that we give. You used to come to our weekly meetings and things of that sort. Kimberly don't like talking.
No, I don't like talking. Well, y'all are very supportive, but I don't do what I'm supposed to do.
I didn't say that. You said it.
Hey, I'll tell the truth. No, I'm a bit scattered, but they're very supportive. Anytime I had an issue with PitchDB, they jumped in and helped me. So I really haven't done anything with SpeakerHub yet, but I will.
Yeah, come on over. I mean, we got to get you your profile and everything set up. So any other questions that I'm missing? I know some people, 99, I can't read all of these. Some people got to help me.
It's okay. I have you.
Any other questions? Or they can just hop in and ask them. Let them hop in and ask. If you got your question, we're going to look through the questions on the list and find the best ones. But if you have a question now, after you've seen everything, you want to hop in.
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay, illuminate.
Yes, LaTanya.
Hey, LaTanya.
Yes. For your cost of your program, is that yearly or monthly?
That's monthly, right? That's a monthly program, right? And again, the idea is that how many of y'all only want to do one speaking gig next year? Only one. Exactly. So 1 gig should pay for it. Y'all want to do 30 gigs, right? So if you're going to do 30 gigs, 1 gig should empower you to get to 30. Is that fair? So that's how we priced it. And we wanted to make it very simple, but we had to charge enough to keep the people out who are just going to come in and annoy the event planners. This is for the serious speakers, right? I didn't show that slide, but that was my next slide. Let me bring it back up here because that slide, I went into that, but I skipped it, right? I had to make a couple choices. I could go as cheap as possible in order to sell as many as possible. The problem with that is that it would burn out our leads really fast. We got 61,000 users in SpeakerHub. Can you imagine how many of them would pitch to all the conferences that aren't qualified? No event host wants to get 300 emails a day from strangers, right? But then the second thing is that by requiring a decent upfront investment, it preserved the value of the leads. It kept out the people who weren't really committed to being a speaker, right? And it allows me to focus on the few that are committed to the flywheel process. If you're not willing to use the flywheel, don't sign up. You're not going to be happy. If you're a new speaker that says, I'm going to sign up for the best one, only pitch conferences, I'm going to refund you because we can see what you're pitching. I'm just being real with you. We watch it. We want to make sure that you're going to win. Our reputation is on the line just like yours, right? So we want to be the Harvard. We want to be the gold standard for booking software. And we can't just let people go rogue. We know that our service is A1. You've heard Kimberly, Brenda, Roy all come on and talk that we will be here for you, but you got to do your part. and we're going to push you. That's our job, is to push you to do better. Any other questions before we close out? We went about a half hour over. Hopefully this was helpful. Gary, did you get your question answered? Gary Clement, I saw you had a question in the chat. You want to unmute and ask? All the pricing and everything is on the new homepage. If you just go to speakerhub.com, you can see it. That's a lot for us, those on an income, but I need money coming in to pay a lot. I agree with you. You know, my question is, what's the alternative, right? What's the alternative to using us? You're going to go Google all day? You just got to, it's just part of the investment. It's a business. Speaking is a business, right? We made it as cheap as possible. You probably should start on podcast if you're not consistently getting booked for gigs. So, you know, you want to be sure that, you know, you're getting your message out there and you got some products to sell where you can make some more money, you know. But we priced it that way on purpose. And I'm not picking on anyone. I'm just being as honest as possible. It's not fair to the best speakers who are doing the work if we let everybody just come in and pitch conferences. Because it's just going to kill the data. Right? Other questions? Go ahead, Fiona. Just unmute and talk. I'm good. We can unmute and talk. Whoever wants to unmute and talk, unmute and talk.
Hello.
Hey, Fiona,
Hi.
how are you? Who is it?
No, you already answered my question, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Maiden, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm emergent in terms of speaking, but I'm experienced in terms of thought leadership. I have been to Medium and several other publications, so I'm in that sort of a middle.
Yep.
What to do with that?
Yep. So
It's a good middle.
And you have a lot of time on stage. If we put you in front of 3,000 people,
paid, but it's not paid. It's not paid, but I have the experience already. I need to be
okay,
in bigger
yeah.
stage
So
right now
so then you
and
should
command a bigger pay.
yeah, you should move up, right? I'm a
Okay,
firm believer that
sounds
if you have to make that own judgment, we can't make that decision
Yeah.
for you. You know if
Yes.
you're comfortable talking in front of an audience of 1,000 people.
Yes, I'm ready for that.
You should get the experience one, the expert level.
Okay,
You should get
sounds
yep. You should move up.
Yeah.
The one that has conferences. You're ready for conferences.
How many pitches do I need to go full time?
Go. What do you mean full time? Like
if I want to be a full time speaker, how many pitches should I give a month?
Okay. Yep. That's a great question. Right. And let's define full-time speaker first. Right. So you can be a full-time speaker if you're a young speaker and your income is $40,000 a year and you want to be a full-time speaker, you can do less gigs than somebody who's trying to replace $200,000 a year in income. Do you see what I mean? So full-time is on a spectrum.
I got you.
Right. So let's start there first. Right.
Okay.
So that's all relative. Right. What do you charge per speaking gig?
$3,000.
Okay. And how much income are you trying to replace?
That.
Just $3,000?
No. I mean, double that, to be honest about double that.
So you only need $6,000 a year?
Not really. Look, okay, I really need 100. I need $100,000 a year.
Okay. So that means you would have to do 33 speaking gigs.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And how many do you have on the calendar right now for next month?
One.
Okay. So conferences are going to pay more, but you got to book those 6 to 9 months out in the future. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you need that money next month, this probably ain't going to work for you. Right? Because the higher paid gigs are 6 to 9 months out in those bigger conferences. You can go talk at the local association. If you have another product to sell, like consulting or something like that, you can book those within 30 to 60 days. But big conferences are booking 6 to 9 months out minimum. So if I'm pitching a conference now, I would be pitching for June of next year, which means I won't get paid until June of next year.
Okay, I got that. What I'm finding out is for what I do, I'm into education consulting, but what I'm finding out is with my message, these clients, they really want consulting services.
Yep.
So that's different. But what I'm finding out is that's starting to work.
Yeah. But the way you get in is you go and you speak for free at the school and then ask them to hire you as a consultant on the back end.
Okay.
Right. So it's not about, it's really about it's not about what does it take to become a full-time speaker. You really have to answer the question, what does it take for you to become a full-time speaker? So I'm going to give you some basic stats. We know that for every 10 podcasts that are pitched, somebody gets booked. You'll probably get 3 responses, but you may not want to go on all of them. So we say 10 to 1 on podcast pitches.
Okay.
For local associations, it's about 30 to 1. If you pitch 30 associations, some of them are going to reply back to you. You're probably going to be able to work out something with one of them. Okay? On the speaking gig, the big conferences, if you're qualified and you're pitching the right conferences, it's about 50 to 1. We have all the data to show it. It's 50 to 1, right? That our job is to get you the meeting. What you do in that meeting is up to you. We don't negotiate that. So if you say, well, Ron, I had 10 meetings and none of them could afford to pay my price, or they didn't want to hire me. Yeah, you talked yourself out of it. That ain't our fault. Our job is to give you the right data to get the meeting.
Okay.
It ain't our fault if you don't know how to sell. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience. You got to learn how to sell yourself. Our job is to provide you with the data and the opportunity to get the meeting. Is that fair?
Got you. I got you.
So if you can't match the price or the date doesn't work, we ain't got nothing to do with that.
So
right?
can this,
we did our part.
So Ron, one final question. So can this work for consulting as well as speaking gigs?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. That's why Stephen's here. Stephen does education consultant, Stephen Boyd.
Okay.
Right? He's been on podcasts. We pitch him to schools. We pitch him to educational conferences. A consultant is just a different way to deliver your thought leadership. I can deliver my thoughts in a 15-minute interview on Oprah, a 1-hour podcast, a book, a course, a workshop, a consulting gig, a conference like this. It's still the same thoughts. I'm just putting it in a different package. Is that fair?
Yeah.
They keep moving. I don't know where you went. Every time somebody leaves or comes in, the things move, so I get lost. So I apologize. Jennifer Doheny. Jennifer was on our live on Sunday, and she does wellness coaching.
Hi, Ron. How are you? Hi, everybody. How's it going?
What's up?
I don't know if this question is more arbitrary, but perhaps you can give me some insight. So when you're putting together the media reels so that you can share with people for future gigs, how many podcast recordings or events do you think that you kind of need to have a recording of to put together like a good quality one?
Yeah. So the media reel is really it's not an hour of you speaking. It should be no more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
And it's just clips of you so that they can see the logo in the back. If you're going to speak at a realtor association, they're going to have Prudential or Keller Williams or whatever, Remax. That logo is going to be in the back with a bunch of people. You just want to have a video of you being shown speaking to that audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so totally understood. Ron, I'm kind of thinking of like that 1 or 2 minutes passing, how many different places you kind of showcase your face or your voice in.
No, it can just be one. It's just different angles of the person talking because there's going to be real in there too.
Okay. And just
Right?
another kind of cap on that question. Do you think that it's polite or appropriate to ask the podcaster for a recording of the podcast so that you're not doing the phone on the side of you?
No, I got you. I'm going to show you the cheat. Here's the cheat code, right? Most of the podcasts that are recorded virtually are over Zoom.
For sure.
Right? So what you do, you say, hey, do you mind if I record on my end just in case the internet goes out or if I got a bad connection? And they always say, yeah, go ahead. Done. Just don't publish it before they put the episode out, right?
Okay.
Be respectful of them. But
Yeah,
that's
also, Ron, this is Roy, too. Sergeant
go
Roy.
ahead.
Every podcast that I've done, they've always given me a complimentary copy of the show.
Yep.
So they're very agreeable about that.
Yeah, they because they want to promote the show too. They want different promotions of what they're doing. So I don't think that there's a bad way to do it. Just ask.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fair. I think I've been on a few that didn't end up putting it on YouTube, even though it was recorded as an interview. They just put it on Spotify, so there never was a video. But
Reach
anyways,
back.
I'm
Well, they
good.
got
I'm
the video.
here.
Reach back out to them and ask for the video. They got it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? This has been good, guys. I mean, we went if you're familiar with our sessions, we do a thing called overtime. We're 37 minutes into overtime. We're going into probably somebody else's event right now.
Say Ron.
Somebody
Say
else's
Ron.
session. Huh?
Say Ron. Say Ron.
Oh, Say Ron. Okay, yeah, that's a good one too. Because go back and watch it. You'll get the replay. Go back and watch Say Ron. Say Ron is dynamic and has a great story. Oh man, that's anybody who's international, go listen to Seyron. She from Iran, came over and kicked butt. Her session is incredible if you're doing international speaking. She is making it work. Any other questions?
Yeah. Delisha, I was in Les Brown's mastermind, and I'm wondering, technically in the system, is it one profile when we move up to the pro, or are they separate? And as well, do we get any tech support? Because I have themes that are different, leadership and women's empowerment, for example, but then I have other things I like to speak on as well.
Yep. So here's the great thing about it. A couple of things. The publicly facing profile that you have in regular Speaker Hub, you can put a lot of different things there. That's what people Google you. Inside of Speaker Hub Pro, right now we allow one profile, but we're working on a feature that should be released in the next week where you can have multiple personalities. So you can be Ron the lawyer, Ron the accountant, and Ron the speaker. And I can pick which one I want to pitch based on. So that is a feature that is being worked on right now. We've been working on it for 3 weeks because people kept asking us about it. So, but here's the thing. You're not pitching to get the gig. And we're going to talk about this on Thursday when we go deeper into outbound. Today was just Speaker Flywheel. Tomorrow we're going to talk about inbound. Thursday I'm going to talk about outbound. Pitch to get the meeting, not to get the gig. Let me say it again. You pitch to get the meeting, not to get the gig. Right? It's no different than dating. My example is always dating. You don't go up and introduce yourself to someone to get a wife. You introduce yourself to them to get a date. And based on that date, they either talk themselves out of being your wife or talk themselves into being your wife. But that's decided at the date. So you're pitching to get a date. And in that meeting, that's when you sell yourself. And you say, oh, yeah. Now, go listen to the session by Christine. And she talks about why listening is the most important skill to get booked for a speaking gig. She goes on for an hour about how your speaker meeting should be 90% of you listening. Not pitching yourself. Because if you can't be an accelerator of the conference, you're not going to get booked. They're looking for someone to accelerate the mission of the conference. Is that fair? If my conference is about leadership and you come in here talking about how to do this, no, if it ain't pushing leadership, I ain't bringing you on. All of the 37 speakers that are at this conference, none of their stuff overlaps. Why? How do I know who they are? Because I picked them specifically because I knew they wouldn't overlap, but I knew that their message would accelerate the Pro Speaker Summit. This summit is about proactivity. Everybody that's speaking tells a story of how they proactively booked themselves to become great. They didn't wait around. I chose them on purpose for that reason. That's how you get booked. Take control of your life. Don't blame us. Blame yourself if you're not doing the work. Right? But we wanted every speaker to talk about that. So when I asked them, hey, yo, you want to speak at our summit? They were like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? Look, we're trying to get more speakers booked. Cool, I can tell them this. Come on, let's go. I'm with you. If they say, well, I want to tell them that they should be doing this and they don't need to be doing outreach. Nope, you ain't coming on my stage. Nope. Right? Because the goal of the conference is to get people booked proactively. That's the theme, proactive. All right. Any other questions before we close out? Tabitha, good to see you down there. Tabitha did a great conference last week. I wasn't able to make it. I was invited to come out, but I wasn't able to make it. Glad you were able to make it in to hear us talk today. Tabitha, great customer of ours. Tandra Price, another great customer of ours. You want to be in a magazine? Tandra got a magazine. If you ain't never been in a magazine, never written an article, hit up Tandra. She got a magazine. She will put you in her magazine if you got the goods. So you can get that. Oh yeah, I wrote for what is it called? I can't think of it. Connect. Tandra, what's the name of your magazine? I don't know. It's called some type of magazine. I can't. Tapped in. My bad. Tapped in. Thank you, Tabitha. Tabitha is being a ventriloquist for Tandra right now. Tapped in magazine. Tapped in magazine. Get an article in Tapped in, and then use that article to get what in the Forbes. Right for Tapped in. Send. Hey, here's the article I wrote at Tapped in. I would love to cover the same topic for CNET. It's the same process, guys. You noticing the theme? Little gigs to big gigs, medium gigs to bigger gigs. And you just keep doing that. That's life. All right. Any other questions before we close out? No? 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 All right. So here's what we're going to do. In the last 3 minutes, put your final questions in the chat. Again, somebody who's on this live session today will win 1 year. 1 year of Speaker Hub Pro. All right. Now, here's the rule. You got to have the best question and you got to have been signed up for the trial. If you didn't sign up for the trial, I don't think you're going to use it anyway. So why do I need to give you a whole year? Sign up for the trial. Ask your best questions. We're going to download the chat and somebody in here is going to win. We did this on Sunday and Layla won on Sunday. She won 1 year of Speaker Hub Pro. Thanks for coming in, guys. Take the few minutes if you want to write your questions in. Again, this is about pitching. This is your chance. You know, the more questions you pitch, the better off you are at probably winning, right? So ask your questions. We'll get those answered. Favorite part of the flywheel, the outbound, sending the pitches. That's my favorite part. If you don't pitch, you can't get booked. How do you sell at the end of a presentation? You don't. Be good during the presentation and people will come buy from you. Just be good. How many people do you get do not get booked for speaking engagements during the 1 year guarantee? 100% of the people that don't send the pitches, all of those people don't get booked. We got people that paid us for 3 years, never sent one pitch. I'm like, dude, let me just cancel. No, I'm going to use it. Cool. I'm not going to argue with you. Right? How can you refer others? That's another good one. Inside of Speaker Hub Pro, there's a referral thing. When you get logged in, you can come in, go to free pitches, and give referrals to other people. We give you a code. You can use that code. It'll give you a referral, and people can use your referral code in order to get 25 free pitches, and you get 25 free. So it's a double-sided thing. You get 25, they get 25 free just for you referring them. Some people got 800 pitches because they referred a bunch of people to us. Make sense? Any other questions? I'm going through rapid fire, but I'm just kind of giving y'all time to write in questions. So this is great. Any feedback for me? Love to have you. Glad you all are at the summit. Go to the other sessions. There are a lot of great sessions. Kamanzi, I left out a bunch of people. Kim Coles from We Are Living Single. She had like the 8 o'clock session this morning, and it is great. Look, Kim know what I'm talking about. That TV show, her transition from being a full-time actress into being a speaker. She said speaking saved her life because she was typecasted at one point, and she had to make that transition. A lot of y'all are corporate trying to make the transition into speaking. Go watch Kim's session. Right? We got an agent, E.J. Johnson. He gives the perspective of how he books people. He's a booking agent. He's like, look, this is how I get my people booked. Go learn what people are looking for. It's best conference in the world. And it's free. You notice there was no heavy pitch. None of the people are heavy pitches. We ain't doing well, if you buy this, we give you 18 bonuses. No. You got 37 professional speakers that gave you the best that they had, and we didn't sell it to you. So there's no excuse. We wanted to remove the excuse of you getting. Huh? Oh, okay. Somebody was cussing out their cat. But no. All right. Any other questions before we go? Any last ones? Any last Hail Mary questions, comments? Glad to have you all aboard. And thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good afternoon.
Oh, there, Ron.
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead, Johnny. What's your question? Go ahead.
Oh, Ron, how's it going?
I'm doing well. You got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah. Speaker, what's the difference between Speaker Pro and just regular being the beginner? I am a speaker, but I haven't been on stage in a while, so I'm a little rusty.
Yeah. So the regular Speaker Hub is a profile. It's like a Speaker One sheet so that people can find you, right? But if you haven't been on stage in a while, you probably don't have a lot of content out there that would make people find you. So we have Speaker Hub Pro, which allows you to pitch to start getting back in the groove of things. You get on podcasts, start doing some local association gigs, and then that gets you back in the groove of speaking again. Because we don't want you to get on stage rusty.
Okay. Okay, then. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
No question. Always good to see you. All right, guys.
Okay,
great session. Talk to you later.
All right, Ron.
Bye-bye.